Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Black Robe podcast. It's your girl, Anzhane Slaughter, here with my lovely co-host, Miss Carol Mitchell. Carol, I missed you. I gotta say, I was in the sunny Mexico for the last 5 days.
I'm jealous.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. You know, it was my birthday. I turned 25, everyone. So,
Happy
you know,
birthday to you.
thank you.
To be 25 and know what I know now.
Well, I want all of
25.
that knowledge. Tell me something that you want your 25-year-old self to know. I'm curious.
Girl, oh wow. If I could speak to my 25, well, first I'd have to speak to my 18-year-old self first and say, do not get married at 19. That's the first
Okay.
thing I would
I
tell
haven't
my
done that.
18-year-old self. Stay single and don't be having no babies until after you have figured out who you are and what your purpose is on the planet.
Okay.
Get your education first, because getting your education with your babies in tow, which is what I did, is really difficult
Yeah.
and stressful, and requires you to take time away from your children when they really need you, or time away from your studies when you really
Mm-hmm.
need to study. You have to make a choice, and
Yeah.
that means neither one gets enough focus, right? Neither one.
Yeah. Okay.
Somehow I got through the UW with
You,
three kids and all of that, and then through law school. But yeah, if I were 25 and know what I know today, about uh, having having a house, investing early in real estate, which is something you're
mm-hmm.
doing, smart.
Yes, ma'am.
That there's talk about a relatively safe way to invest and build equity. I would definitely,
Mm-hmm.
if I was speaking to my 25-year-old self, of course I did. I that part I understood.
Right.
What I
You had a
did,
house at like 18, right? Didn't you tell
19,
us
yeah,
once?
at 19, yes,
19 years old. Mm-hmm.
yes, but it wasn't just in my name. See, it should have.
Oh.
I had to share the equity
That's
with
right.
my
That's right. That
husband
marriage.
at the
Mhm.
time. So I think I would have stayed single, waited to have children, bought that house, got my education, and traveled the world, and then come back and said, okay, now I'm ready
Yeah.
to
But
settle
Carol, by
in.
that time, aren't you like 35? I mean,
Hmm.
how old? For all the women,
31
31.
when
And
I finished that.
yeah, but well, I'm saying after a lot of young women would say, well, by the time I have my career, buy my house, get married, I'm 35 and my eggs are almost
Hey,
dry.
you'd be surprised. A lot of my friends, I was odd because I had my first child is exactly 20 years younger than me. And her
Mhm.
first child is exactly 20 years younger than her. I don't know what it is about us with the 20 thing. Um, and I have grandchildren, and some of my grandchildren are older than some of my friends' first child. I have
Mm-hmm.
grandchildren that are older than their children because they waited till they were like 45 to have the first baby.
45.
Girl, there is no way, because they did things in that order, right? They
Mm-hmm.
went to college, had a career, bought a house, then got married, and then had
Mm-hmm.
babies in their 40s when, they felt like they could really afford it, and they had kind of done their thing and they were ready to settle down. So, yeah, one of my friends, still has a child in college, and she's 65 years old.
65 years old.
Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be 65 with a child
Mm-mm.
in college.
No, so I guess it's all about finding that balance, figuring out, and having a good, solid partner. That's one thing. I didn't come from a two-parent household, so I grew up in a household watching my mom, work three jobs and still
Ooh.
juggle me and my brother and her education, but then I did have friends that had two-parent households, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing how they had more time as a family together, where, with my mom, I was always busy. She was always busy, so we
Mm-hmm.
spent a lot of time doing activities and working. But that's one thing I think, having that, if you can do it, you can have your career with a family, as long as you have a solid partner there to really support you, or a
Yeah, because
family.
something always gives.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not a robot. And so,
Right.
we grew up, the baby boomers all grew up in this, Protestant work ethic, bringing home the bacon and frying it and blah, 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 right? We had
Yeah.
this whole scheme that we were all thinking we could really live out. And in reality, you end up with high blood pressure and diabetes by the time you're 50, trying to do that stuff because
Yeah.
it's stressful. You're trying to be the perfect parent, show up at all the soccer games and work till 9
Mm,
o'clock at night. And I think
yeah.
that's why so many people don't want to go back to the office routine. The
Right.
COVID has really uncovered uh, a whole new way of working, and people like
Mm-hmm.
it,
Yes.
and don't want to go back. And you know what? Hey, it's probably healthier for children because their parents are around,
Mm-hmm.
or
Exactly.
especially those of us who, maybe were lawyers or whatever, things that demanded a lot of your attention. At
Mm-hmm.
least now they know their mama and daddy is in the house or around somewhere where they're accessible. And the
Absolutely.
work is getting done. But listen, I have to ask you, because you just came back from a big fancy trip.
Ask
I
me.
never took any big fancy trips when I was in my 20s.
Why didn't you? Are you scared of flying?
No. I love travel. I've been all over the world now, but I mean, it never occurred to me that
Mm-hmm.
I should get on an airplane and leave the country in my 20s. That didn't happen for me until I was well into my I think my first big trip, I probably was 40 something years old, and the kids
Wow.
were out of the house.
Yeah. No, that sounds about right, because my mom still, and dad actually, never, even my aunts, never been out the country. So that's interesting that you point
Never?
that out. Never. I mean, my mom, she's just turned 50 this year, has never been out. My aunts, yeah, they attempted a trip, but they didn't know about passports. They got a passport card, so it was kind of just a lack of information at that point. But they didn't make it out. They were supposed to go to, I think, Puerto Rico or Mexico or something, and it didn't work out. And my dad's never been, but so me getting a passport, I was the first in my family to ever get a passport. And the first in my family to get a passport. Wow, I never even thought about that, but it's true. And you know what put me on? It was the University of Washington. That
Mm-hmm.
was my first trip out of the country. It was to Italy. I went on a sociology trip, toured all the way from the northern tip to the southern coast.
Look at
Lived
you.
in Rome for 3 months, Carol. I lived in Rome for 3 months, and I said, I'm going to do it. I wasn't scared. I've never been,
Mm,
that flight was like 16 hours,
yeah.
you know, never been to Europe. My parents never been to Europe. I think my mom was more worried than I was, because I was just so excited to see this other side of the world.
Oh,
And
yes. I
yeah.
think once you do international travel, I just had to get my passport renewed,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it had expired after the 10 years or so. But my second one, I guess, yeah, that this will be my third renewal in my lifetime. Because yeah, 40
Okay.
every 10 years.
Yeah.
But when you when you go someplace else and experience another language, another culture, it gives you a frame of reference for what you have at home. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of the things that we just take for granted will be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going to Thailand and the public restroom is a whole nother world
What is it? Just
compared.
like a hole in the dirt?
Pretty close. You know, you got the public restroom is
Oh yeah, not
not
the
what you think.
public one.
Or being in Ghana where you had the basic facilities, but you couldn't be guaranteed there would be toilet tissue everywhere
Mm-hmm.
you went, right? Along the road, because some of the places were, out in the countryside, or
Yeah.
driving around the roads and the goats and the chickens are
Yeah, yeah.
running across the highway. We actually hit one too, and that was sad. Uh,
Oh.
but it just gives you a total appreciation for what we have, what we're given, and how freely it's
Mm-hmm.
available to us. Nobody in the United States can really starve unless they really don't want to go seek
Yeah,
out the resources, right? We have so
right.
much available at food banks, available,
Mm-hmm.
money that's given to us,
Yeah.
TANF and medical
Food
coverage
stamps.
and food
Mm-hmm.
stamps and unemployment. These are things that are not heard of
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of places in the world, where public education that's paid for and public transportation to get to that education, those are
Yeah.
things, those are unheard of. But 25-year-olds going all across the country celebrating their birthdays.
Yep. And it's not just me. I'm seeing 25, 28, 30-year-olds doing the same thing, traveling to Africa, travel. Like I said, my friend, she's going to Greece. I have another one that just landed in the Netherlands.
Mm.
I mean, it's so important. Black people, we do travel. Young Black people, we travel. If you go on Instagram or Facebook, you'll see all of these different traveling networks. But I do think that it's a new wave, because
Mm.
before, I mean, in my family, I can say it was just about securing the house and just making sure we had our
Yes.
roof over our head and clothes on our back and the bills are paid. It wasn't more about learning. I mean, definitely education is key in my family, but I don't know, traveling, you can learn so much through travel.
Learning through experiencing and traveling. Yes.
Yes, it's not just for fun. It's, we get a sense of geography
Mm-hmm.
when we travel. It's so much more than the US. And I think sometimes America kind of feels like we're a big brother and it's all about us. We don't need to speak another language. Everyone needs to learn English. But then you
Mm-hmm.
go somewhere else, they're automatically bilingual because they know their native language and then they know English on top of that,
Oh,
right?
yeah. And may know 5 or 6 other languages.
Exactly,
And we
exactly.
struggle with 2.
And why is it that we don't have to learn another language until we get to high school? We don't even learn about world history or, cultures outside of Americanism until we start taking those more advanced classes.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah.
I was telling my granddaughter, for one of her classes, she had to read Mark Twain, and she said,
Mm.
"Nana, I couldn't understand what the folks were saying." I was like, "Hey, they speak a patois, right? They speak another
Mm-hmm.
language. This blending of African with English and whatever else,
Mm-hmm.
Irish influence, British influence that was there." But
Yeah.
there is this expectation that when people immigrate here, they need to give up whatever language they brought with them. And really,
Mm-hmm.
there's history in the language.
Oh yeah, legacy in the language. When I was in Mexico, I learned that there was still 3 million Mayan that speak the ancient Mayan Aztec language.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was beautiful because on one of the excursions we were going into a sacred Mayan cenote, which is a fresh watering hole. And we were blessed by one of the ancient Mayan priests in his dialect. And it was just so beautiful.
Ooh.
And only 3 million people know how to speak it. But can you imagine? I mean, if they don't teach it to their children, then it's gonna just disappear. We have to
Well,
keep.
everywhere the Spanish went, they left their imprint, didn't they?
Oh
On
yeah.
on Africans, on the indigenous first people in those lands,
Mm-hmm.
and just looking at South America, parts of South America, and even um, parts of Mexico, so forth, Central America.
Yeah.
If you don't speak Spanish, your odds of getting further along in your education or your employment, you're greatly
Mm-hmm.
hampered by that. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
you have to speak whatever the colonizer's language is. But your
Mm-hmm.
traveling gives you that understanding of history and that exposure. Us baby boomers, I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that you have been enjoying your birthday and traveling and resting and relaxing, and that is something that a lot of us baby boomers just don't even do. And many of them, I used to, in my role in human resources, we would see these people with these huge sick leave and vacation balances. And I had a sad case where this one man, he retired on like on March 5th, and he died of a heart attack in April before he could even
That's,
run out all of that vacation he had. It's like we
I'm
don't take.
so
It's
sorry. That is
sad, isn't
not
it?
funny. That
I
is
hate to
not funny.
laugh.
I'm not trying to laugh.
He was kind of
May he rest
mean.
in
He was
peace.
kind of mean. So, that was maybe divine retribution. But
Carol.
here he had saved all this vacation and all this sick leave just in case he needed it. And when he retired or got ready to retire, he was going to run out all that vacation, and his
Mhm.
life ran out before the vacation did. Why do
Exactly.
we feel like we can't take a break, can't take a trip
And
regularly?
maybe it's that trip that will add the years to your life, because you're giving back to yourself. I do look
Mm.
at it as self-care. We spend so many, especially if you work for an agency or, a corporation, you spend so many hours of your day, of your life devoted to this company and their profit margins and their productivity. When do you give back to yourself? when do
Mm.
you when do you reward yourself for all of that hard work? And that, I think any good employer should really think about when they want to retain people. You need to take a break so that
Makes
you can
them
come
take a
back.
break. Yeah.
Exactly. So that they can come back and be rejuvenated, recharged, and ready to dive back in. Because people don't want to be
Mm.
on vacation for too long. People
Mm.
like to have something to do, something to work towards, or a challenge to, accomplish, right? People have goals and aspirations. Some people might want to be in limbo forever, but they're not, I don't think that's really rewarding. What it
Now you, in all your travels, you found time to go get yourself your first vaccine shot. So
I,
congratulations, because we had some really interesting conversations about whether or not you were ever going to do that. So what changed your mind?
we did. And well, when I found out that you needed a negative test to return to the States, my life is very busy. We have the Freedom Summer Symposium coming up. We
In
have,
minutes, in
and
minutes.
it's literally the clock is ticking. So much between real estate and then my state work. I needed to be healthy. I'm responsible for, and I take pride in my responsibilities and things that I'm working towards, because I can't wait to see it come to fruition. We've been working on these projects for almost a year now,
Mm-hmm.
and I would never want to miss this work, right? And so I had to make sure I was healthy. I also did it because I wanted to have a peace of mind while I was on vacation. I didn't want to be quarantined in Mexico in my room,
Right.
So
Right. So what's your message to the 20 somethings that still have not gone to get the vaccine?
Yeah, well, if you're planning on traveling out the country, you definitely need to get the vaccine. If you didn't know that you need a COVID shot or a negative COVID test to return, now you do. And actually, Mexico is only one of the few places that doesn't require a negative test to enter. But if you're thinking about going to other Caribbean countries, I know for a fact Bahamas and Jamaica, you need a negative test to enter. So it's only for your benefit, for the benefit of others, to really get this vaccination. There's a lot of more serious arguments, of course, more health related arguments to consider when thinking about getting the vaccine. But if you haven't considered traveling, I mean, maybe that will be the thing that just pushes you to get it. I don't know.
I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you took time to rest and recreate. You did some crazy stuff that I would.
You wouldn't do. I think you could do everything that I did, Carol. You could.
Up in the air, paragliding, parasliding, whatever you would do. Parasliding.
I was 500 feet in the air. Parasailing, like from a boat, and it had a parachute. I mean, these are just experiences. Do you have a bucket list, Carol?
Why? Yeah, my bucket is usually on the ground, though, not in the air 500 feet. I keep my bucket on the ground.
I'm going to challenge you to step out of your comfort zone. You either got to go in the sky or in the water, but get off the ground, Carol.
I'm cool with the water. I've been in a glass bottom boat before, and but I'm not a strong swimmer. So, I don't want to get out there and act like I know what I'm doing when I don't. But I definitely love the water. I'm cool in the water. But 500 feet in the air, no.
It was definitely a moment to remember.
Well, you're gonna have to produce some photographs at some point. But so let's close this off so you can get some rest, because I know you have been traveling and you just got back. You have a lot that's happening in a few days with the Freedom Summer Symposium. Do you want to just give people just a little snapshot of the talent that you and Wanda Thompson have recruited, and what kind of energy they're going to bring to the symposium on June 28th and 29th?
Absolutely. So you guys know that we are tailoring our talent, we're tailoring our panelists, our speakers to our audience, right? Which are young 18 to 35-year-old leaders, people that are socially aware of their surroundings and want to do something about it. So we have named jazz vocalists coming. Like, these are professional artists. We have black artists. Okay, we have black steel drum performers coming. We have that, and these steel drum performers, he's gonna play a variety of different songs. He's gonna play a little old school, a little new school, a little reggaeton. But definitely, I mean, I can't wait. He's amazing. We have some singers, vocalists. We have some rappers, Tacoma artists coming out. We're currently producing artists on our Instagram page. So you guys just stay on top of what we're releasing. You guys don't want to miss this lineup. It's going to be so good. I'm really excited for this, and for our challengers and for these designers to come out and give us some real thoughtful solutions to some of these social issues that we're currently facing. So
yeah, for people who don't know, we are looking to this group of young adults to help us plan what we're going to do with respect to leadership development in the next year. And we're so fortunate that we now have 4 strong sponsors, funders who are helping us do this work. I'm really excited about it. I was crying while you were gone. I was boo-hooing. Not because you had left, although I was missing you. And you made me do the podcast by myself last week, but that's okay. I forgive you. I was crying because of the unexpected and overwhelming support that we have been able to secure from Group Health Community Foundation from the very beginning. They were right there. Thank them. Then the South Sound Together group came because we're going to be the next step in their next leaders work that they're doing. Of course, our partnership with UWT is a big piece of the design challenge and that next leaders connection. Then the Black Future Co-op Fund just shocked us and said, "We see you." It's like,
we
what?
see you, sis. Yes.
We didn't even know you were looking at us. And so it's good to be seen. And then last week, just went to the bank to make the Black Future Co-ops deposit, check the balance, and it's got twice as much money in there as we were thinking we had. I thought it was a mistake. I called over to Greater Tacoma Community Foundation and said, I think you gave us this money twice. What's going on? And it turns out that GTCF had made a huge contribution to the work. And that kind of occurrence when you weren't really expecting this money to happen. Drew Ebersole and you and I are going to talk a little bit about how we birthed this dream and the kind of positive thinking we did and stating the positive, stating our intentions and just sort of setting it out there. We're going to talk a little bit about how that can happen for young adults who come to the symposium too. And old folks too.
Yeah.
And the legacy panels, that's the thing I forgot to tell you about. That's you know how you were saying we need to get the legacy piece in there and make it more prominent. Well, what we did while you were away sunning yourself and working on your melanin in Spanish and flying up in the air at 500 feet. 6 members of the community on that first day, the 28th, where they're talking about the past and how my generation and before did what we did, our approach, our thought process. 6 people will come into the design challenge and be interviewed so that that experience can be integrated into the young adults thinking.
Oh, I am.
Are you happy? We did that just for you.
Carol. Yes, I am so happy. This is so important. We need your stories. We need your experiences. We need your shoulders to stand on. You know, this is not reinventing the wheel. This is continuing the wheel, continuing the movement, the motion. I'm so happy because I just appreciate these conversations that that I'm just so grateful to have on every Tuesday and air on Thursday with you, Carol, because I learned so much from you. You know, you're learning from me. Before we started, you know, I was helping you with the backdrop. I mean, there's so much that.
Oh, I'm bad now. I can get it up all by myself.
No, it's funny because you're more on Twitter than I am.
Listen, I'm telling you, because of you, I got a Twitter account. And hey, you can find me, AUMI Carol 1. AUMI Carol 1. I got that, and I had never really been on Twitter before, maybe for a half a minute, and it didn't, you know, it's like, I can't say what I need to say in 140 characters or less. Oh, yes, I can.
Oh, yes, you can. Hot black tea. That's what you need to change your name. It should be hot black auntie. That's what you should be.
I love it. Now somebody's going to hear this and steal my name. I better get up on
trademark.
there. Hot black auntie.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Carol, for that legacy panel. This Freedom Summer Symposium is going to be crazy, guys. It's going to be a event that you don't want to miss. So if you haven't registered yet, go to our website at the institutefourblackjustice.org and register on the Eventbrite. We have a web page just for the Freedom Summer Symposium. You can't miss it. You guys don't want to miss. And at this point, it's free. We've got so much support. We were asking for donations before, but now we really want to just share the love, share the wealth with everyone. So register and listen to us, 18 and 35-year-olds, talk with our elders, and come up with some modern day solutions.
I love that. Yeah, because you're getting the value of a $60 ticket. Thanks to those 4 sponsors, the value of a $60 ticket, 2.5 days worth of content that would have cost you $60 is going to be available at no charge. So get registered.
Get registered and get vaccinated.
Yes,
let's end COVID, please.
All right, welcome home and happy birthday, Anzhane. Go get some rest. And thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Black Robe Podcast.